Let's get down to the New York Stock Exchange, where our friend Jim Cramer has been hanging out. And I was watching you on Twitter this morning. You seem to be very worried about the situation in Hong Kong right now, Jim.
Yeah, I think that the CEO there, Ms. Lam, has to call in the government. I mean, the airport, they're just begging for it, these protesters. And we had a good report this morning about how there's no leader to the protests, so they don't really know how to get their handle on it. I don't know how she just continues to ignore it. She doesn't have a police force that can stop it, clearly. And I know that Hong Kong airport is a real, let's just say that's a flashpoint for the Chinese. So, yeah, I'm worried about it because I just don't think that the Chinese communists can avoid it anymore. And they have the PLA.
Jim, if you're right, the moment that happens, it becomes a almost global story. I mean, talk about a sell-off. Don't you think that it's going to change the whole dynamic of where we are right now?
I do. It's my biggest worry. I can't be cavalier about it because suddenly I think Germany, we have really bad relations with Merkel. I mean, not we, President Trump. But there's a certain point where the free liberties of the Hong Kong people are going to be, it's going to end. And how does Germany stay on the sidelines? How does Germany not declare that they're against the PLA and against the People's Republic government? I think they have to. I don't know how the UK, I mean, we can ask Wilf, but the UK has to come out against them. These are all market. They all want the Chinese market. But if there's a Tiananmen Square in Hong Kong, we know this market has to get hit. It just will.
And Jim, what's the impact if Congress decides to say, hey, no more special status for Hong Kong, that goes away if this situation ratchets up? Because they've been able to be in sort of an economic sweet spot.
Well, I mean, I think that it's all the president. I mean, the president, by the way, is not really weighed in on this party. It's all trade. And I think that the Chinese, I've been saying all along that the Chinese government is more worried about Hong Kong than they're worried about trade, because Hong Kong is something that's very visible in Europe. Mm-hmm. And I think that we just can't ignore it because they can't ignore it. Now, the gentleman was on before. I mean, he's talking about retail being bad. I don't know. I mean, that's the safe haven. Banks can certainly go down, but I am less bullish because of Hong Kong. But I just don't see that there's going to be negative yields here. I think that's what the president seems to want, but you're not going to get it.
Jim, I think that the thing I'd say is that if they do send the PLA in, it shows that China's putting principle above economic impact because of the huge implications that would have. And that might have an interesting read across for how they're seeing these trade talks and for all those questions of how much is the economy hurting, China versus U.S., who's going to budge first. I think if they went as far as sending the PLA into Hong Kong, the kind of long-term implications that could have and the damage it could do to Hong Kong would suggest that they're willing to take the economic impact in order to put principle first, which might have implications for how they think on the trade talks.
I agree with that, but the reason why they can take that long-term view against the United States is because Germany's doesn't care. Europe is on the side of China. And Europe wants to do a lot of business with China. Wilf, I've got to tell you, this would be an affront to all the European governments. It'd be an affront to Korea, obviously an affront to Japan, but they're long-standing enemies.
I mean, it's still. We had a reporter on this morning, the FT Hong Kong bureau chief, who said it was a greater than 50% chance now, in his view, that the PLA sends people in. I don't think that's most people's base case, but it's definitely rising.
Jim, any sense
right.
the Hong Kong dollar peg would change?
That's a great question because I think it's military. I don't think it's financial. I mean, I don't mean to laugh about it, but I'm saying that something has to happen, something big, because you can't have the airport shut down. I don't know what it does to the currency, but it's not positive. There's, by the way, a lot of businesses done in Hong Kong by American companies. I think that should be talked about more. Particularly, look, I think Estee Lauder is a great company, and Estee Lauder is going to have great numbers. But when you think of Hong Kong, you think of the metaphor is Estee Lauder, because that's where the Chinese go to shop. So I am concerned short term, definitely, about this. Longer term, I think it will come to a head and then, like Tiananmen Square, go away. But how does the PLA let this happen?
Well, the CEO
PLA
said
wants to come in.
It's the worst economic impact they've seen in 15 years. Jim, you have a lot to unpack. Next hour, we'll see in just a few minutes' time.
Most important thing out there.